Well, hello everyone. This is Hannah Fitz coming to you live from the brand atelier at hannahfitz.com. I am so thrilled to bring to you our most delicious live interview yet. So I've invited French chef Xavier Ribot to share with us some amazing insights on how to eat well working from home. I know a lot of people are not just working from home, but you're literally stuck at home, right? You can't go out to dinners. You have to cook pretty much everything you eat, depending on where you are. For some countries like Saint Lucia, 24-hour lockdown. So you have to figure it out in terms of creating meals. So I really thought about the situation right now when I put the questions together for this interview. And I also thought about the road ahead and how you can up-level your own culinary skills going forward. So just a little bit about my guest today, Chef Xavier Ribot. Chef Xavier was born in Grenoble in the French Alps and moved to Evian when he was 7 years old. It was there on the shores of Lac Le Mans that he later discovered the talent that would take him on the most fascinating adventures of his life, from Switzerland to Paris to London and beyond. In 1989, while working at the Kew Gardens in London, Chef Xavier was offered a job as a sous chef at one of the leading hotels in Saint Lucia. Cooking has always been in Xavier's blood. Both his parents are excellent cooks. Indeed, his mom still works at the Majestic Hotel in Cannes. He was offered the opportunity to transform an old estate house into the Great House restaurant. Within 1 year, it had received the award for the best restaurant of the year. It is little wonder that Xavier is meant to know many on the island, including the market vendors, as Chef La, which is Creole for the chef. He is best known for his landmark restaurant, the Coal Pot, and also created the Pink Plantation and Blue Olive restaurants in St. Lucia. He was a member of the grand jury on the San Pellegrino and Aquapana Caribbean Junior Chef. And Chef Xavier's explanation for his food is that my food is not over the top. It is simple with a strong French foundation, or need I say French accent, tasty, well presented with many local and French flavors. Welcome, Xavier. It's so great to have you here.
Hi, welcome, Anna. Thank you for the invitation. I think that came at the right time. I was getting bored at home. Quite amazing to be able to be surfing on the net there, maybe all over the world. So yes. Hi to everybody, and I hope I can jazz up the day a little bit with some good idea for food.
Amazing, amazing. I'm sure you will. And, you know, Xavier and I are not only friends, but when I started working on the Junior Caribbean Chef Project, I invited Xavier to be a part of it, and his support was just invaluable to me with the program and to all of us and the young people who he mentored during this time. And so he's also about giving back to community, and I know he'll be giving tons of value to you here today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure for me too. And you know, one day I have to retire, so I want the young one to learn to cook and cook for me, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. So here's the question. When you are working from home, it can be challenging to find, you know, the time to cook lunch or even have the energy to cook dinner. I know because I worked from home pretty much like over the last 10 years, I've been working from home. And sometimes I get bored and I go out and get something to eat. But right now, it's not the time that you can actually do that. But on a normal basis, when you're working from home, you don't have the time to cook. Sometimes you forget lunch or whatever it is. How do you recommend that we stay efficient? You know, what are your tips for achieving efficiency in the kitchen to significantly reduce cooking time? Because we don't have the time. We have work to do, and we still need to take care of ourselves and eat something decent.
Okay, so that's a little bit what we're doing in professional kitchen. We need our basic foundation, and our basic foundation, everybody know, would be if you want to do a sauce or a recipe and things like that, the garlic, the onion, fresh herbs, certain basic, like maybe sometimes carrots and things like that. That's your basic foundation.
Yeah.
And so you can, you know, every day, and you know right now, talking about the circumstance where we are. We know we're not going nowhere tomorrow and after tomorrow. So it's exactly the right time to practice what I'm going to say, is to get, when you peel your garlic, don't just do half or just one or two of them. Just do a good, and you have the time on your hand because, you know, we confine at home, is to peel a good quantity of garlic, a good quantity of onion. You can peel your carrots, you can organize your celery and all your basic products. I like to work with fresh products. Of course, now we'll talk maybe about how we're going to be able to manage without fresh products.
This is one of my questions.
The next step. But for the people who are lucky to be able to have the stock of onion, garlic, and basic products like that, when you do it, you can just do like 5 or 6 onions. You can do a good 2 or 3 head of garlic, put it in a zip bag, put it in the bottom of your container of your fridge. And then every time you're going to want to do something, you know already you don't have to go through the peeling process. It's already there. And you know you're going to cook for the next 2-3 days, so your stock will go and will not spoil. So that's one thing I would say. Have your fridge organized so you have your basic foundation. You know, it's a little bit the same what we do in a kitchen. When we do, let's say, if I have to do a duck, I mean, I'm talking about professional kitchen. You need to have your let's say your steak au poivre throws, or you want to do a nice piece of fish with a hollandaise or whatever. You need to have your prep. Everything is not happening. Very often we forget the morning. The chef start early in the morning, make his preparation, and then the service happen 3-4 hours later. If your preparation is not good, your service is not going to be good, and then your guests will be disappointed. Try to get this same mentality at home. Get your prep, and then when you decide to make a dish, you already have a good foundation in your fridge. And I would say, if you have your kids at home and they're bored and everything, the little one, everything, they can help them. Give them the chance to do garlic and onion, maybe peel the carrots, do something like that, so they can participate and be part of the whole cooking experience.
I love it. I love it. So it's all about preparation, prepping as much as possible to really help with the efficiency. And I think there's a special name that chefs use to call this prepping. So people can get fancy with the lingo and really add a little bit of culture to what they're doing.
in France, and of course in the professional kitchen, we call that mise en place. That means mise en place is putting everything in the right place. So when you have everything, then it's like go to the circus. You know, the circus is the people arrive and the show is there. But imagine the preparation before, the mise en place before. They need to prepare and to train and to do all of that and repeat it all the time. And this is how you become professional. You know?
I love it. And I think this is a lesson even for building your own brand and building a business, like having your mise en place. Before you even go to serve your customers, your clients, you sort of have to have those mise en place in place so that you can show up more efficiently, more effectively in your role. So I love that.
Yes, absolutely. It's a foundation for any business and any way to do business, you know.
Yeah. I love it. And so many people can't go out shopping at this time. So I'd love for you to share with our audience, how can we create delicious meals in less than 30 minutes using basic ingredients that everyone can find in their pantry because they can't go to the supermarket? So what are some of the tips or maybe interesting recipes maybe they can look up that you can share with us that won't take a lot of time and that they can use the basic essentials to create?
All right. So already what I've been doing right now, because it's two matter I'm facing there.
Yeah.
When I do my preparation in the morning or when I do my lunch, it's only the two of us. What I'm trying to do is also to save a little bit of water and electricity, time. All of that is important, I think, in the situation where we are now.
Yes.
I do one prep in the morning, and I organize it to make big enough so I have leftover for the dinner. So in general, for dinner, I just warm up something I had done. It's repetitive. You're eating lunch and dinner more or less the same thing. As much as you can always add a slice of tomato, or you can always add something on the side, you know, to change it. Or you can maybe have sauce for lunch and not have for dinner, or do a different sauce or something like that. But I think time consuming, like you say, we're busy trying to work from home. We all have to help the kids with their homework and and occupy them and everything. So as much as we home not doing anything, a lot of mothers especially certainly find themselves very busy and overwhelming. So maybe the whole idea is to first find a recipe who will work for lunch and dinner. For example, again, for lunch, if you do like fish and rice, you may cook a little bit extra rice, and then in the evening, you're just going to take the rice, open a can of tuna, a can of tuna, put a little bit of vegetable, and you have a rice salad, for tonight. You can do that with pasta. You can do that with potatoes. So if you plan your potatoes like your stash for lunch, can be potatoes, it can be rice, it can be pasta, whatever. You can also do it for the dinner with a different taste, but the same ingredient. So then that's one of my first tips, I would say,
Yes, I love that. So you really repurpose the accompaniment so that you add a new twist to it, and maybe you can save that same whatever the protein was for another dish. Yeah,
that's right. And I know, again, if you cook rice, don't just cook rice for the meal. Cook rice for few meals, because your rice, what you need to do as soon as your rice is cooked, just pass it in the cold water. So you stop the cooking, then you store your rice, and when you need rice, you open your fridge up, your rice just need to be warmed up. Your rice, your pasta, some vegetable, like if you do a ratatouille, or if you do, a soup and everything like that, you can make that and keep it in your fridge. We keeping these days with the products we have and the technology we have, the quality of the fridge, you can keep things in your fridge 3, 4, 5 days with no problem. I know some people say, oh, I don't like to warm up food, or I don't like leftover. Again, in the circumstance where we are now, we may have to make an effort. And I don't think that will hurt anybody.
Yeah, I love it. And everything is time and place. So it's really about working with the situation that we have and making it work for us. And I think a lot of, busy people and people who work from home, for myself even, whatever we cook for dinner, if there's something left over, I'll repurpose it. Like if we had rice, I'll repurpose it and stir fry it in a different way. So I have something brand new, a new taste on something that we had the night before. So again, it's about finding efficient ways and ways to creatively repurpose whatever is left over, so it feels new.
That's right. Now, again, we're going to work, and I hope some people, or the majority of the people, also had a chance to go to shop. And of course, fresh products is great, but when we're going to be a week, 2 weeks, maybe confined at home, it's going to run out of like onion. I'm running out of onion. Garlic, I still have a little bit, but as a French chef, I love to cook my onion, my garlic, my shallots, and all of that. And that, unfortunately, you can only keep to a certain level, a certain time. So I am experiencing, and it's funny how it happened. I have a part of my house who is on Airbnb. And when the guests leave, we clean up the kitchen, and I find out they had like a onion powder, garlic powder, parsley powder, and all. I normally do not work with that, but I'm happy to find that in my house, because normally it should not be in my cupboard, but because of the situation. So I'm putting a little bit of that who can help. I know a lot of people use that at home. Instead of peeling the onion and the garlic and do all of that, they're going to use a powder. I'm not 100% for it, but in our condition, it's better to have powder than have nothing. So I'm happy there.
I love it. So one of the things for me, and I'm sure some people out there can relate, is that I love variety, and to some degree. So I might go to a certain restaurant and order the same thing all the time, but it's not like I'm going every day. I need to change things up. And so I found myself wondering, well, how can I keep myself entertained? And before things had gotten to the critical height of a 24-hour curfew, I started cooking in a way that, okay, we can't go out. How can I create an experience that will make us feel happy? And so what I started to do, Xavier, was that I would think about like the countries that I love And I started creating dishes, my favorite dishes from those places. And even if I didn't have the exact ingredient, I would make it. So like I did like gnocchi, you know, with a coconut shrimp sort of thing. So I used the coconut paste instead of the heavy cream. I know beef bourguignon takes ages. I didn't have the time for that. And I had pork. So I did my own version of like a pork bourguignon. And so for me, it's just to give myself that sense that I'm going on a journey and to create that excitement of something, that entertainment through food. So what are some of the ways people listening, because now obviously things have changed, so we maybe don't have all the fancy ingredients anymore. Like, what are some of the ways that people can keep themselves entertained with food and create stories around the food they create?
Well, if we want to a little bit ignore the circumstance where we are right now, with a lack of possibility maybe of choice of stock and things like that, when you mention you like to find the best dish of a country, right away when you say that, I thought about a restaurant chain who is very well known in America, who's called a Cheesecake Factory. And everybody more or less knows Cheesecake Factory, especially you're on this side of the world. And I must say, I love to go there. But if you really analyze the menu of what the Cheesecake Factory did, is like they took the three most popular dish of each country, India and France and Italy and Spain and America and Mexico and everything. And they put this main dish, they put them on the menu. So what is that is we all, like you just say, we all have our favorite dish from Italy. If it's your pizza or your pasta or your ice cream or, you know, the French have the cordon bleu and whatever, you can get a good burger there also. You can get a good Mexican meal or Chinese. And I found this is why it's so popular, because anybody and any family go there. They can make themselves happy with a dish. We all know international, you know? And so your question is related a little bit to that, how to come up with some idea. You know, the answer also is the internet these days. We have internet, and you can type whatever you want and you get a recipe. Now, as a professional chef, sometimes I see some stuff on the internet is not right or is not correct. But first of it, who I am to say that? I'm professional, so that gives me a little bit of a plus. But you have to be careful sometimes I realize sometimes I do use the internet to get a recipe or to change, because I also like to have big variety. My French culture, my Caribbean accent is one thing, but I still need to learn about Vietnam and China and Mexican and Argentina and all of that. And these days it's so beautiful to be able to have it just on your laptop, you know, on your phone. So I do use that. The only tip I would say, before you start a recipe, like last time I had some mascarpone at home, some extra mascarpone. So I did a tiramisu. Okay, fine. But then I had an extra one. I say, I'm not going to do a tiramisu again. We had enough, you know? So I went and I looked for a recipe with mascarpone, and I did a mascarpone lemon cake. It was really nice. But
that sounds delightful.
Yeah, but looking for, it was light, it was fresh. It was a little bit like a cheesecake, a little bit, you know? It was halfway between a cake and a cheesecake. It was quite interesting. But what I did is, first I look at the recipe and I say, oh, this one I have too many eggs. I need to save my eggs. So I went to look for a next recipe with less eggs, and you can find it. So take your time to look before you start a recipe on the internet. Study a little bit of the recipe himself. Compare 2 or 3 of them, and then you will find the one who will be the most easy for you, or the more practical, or the one you relate the best, you know? And then you're done, you know?
Absolutely. You know, as you're saying about practicality of recipes and also seeing things on the internet, I remember I wanted to make macarons sometime last year, and I found a recipe on the internet, and I followed the recipe, but I ended up with macarons. Like they were like rocks. They looked nothing like the macarons I wanted. And then I decided to do a course in making macarons in Paris. And when the chef took me through the class, it was nothing like the recipe online. I mean, they skipped several, not the ingredients, but the fundamentals, the thinking, the
savoir-faire.
The savoir-faire, as you would say in France. You know, it's like French cooking especially has many different rules and things are very precise. So
yes. You know, we have our in kitchen. It's funny, but in France, in kitchen, when you learn cooking, we have our own Bible. It's a small lexic like that, and it has every recipe in it. Like, for example, I remember, it's amazing, you know, the sole, the flat fish, the sole, we have something, I think, something like 74 recipe for one fish on this book. And this book is a tiny book, huh? It's not a big book, but it is only professional expression. And what also they do, they're referring to a next one and a next one. So you start with the foundation of one base sauce, and then you're adding little thing, you know. Like in France, you can have your Hollandaise sauce. And then if you start to put your tarragon in it and your vinegar, it became a Béarnaise sauce, but with the same foundation of the Hollandaise. So you start with the Hollandaise foundation, then you jump to the Béarnaise sauce, and then you can have sauce Choron, who is the same thing as a sauce Béarnaise, but you add tomato paste in it. So you see, same foundation, and then you go through the ladder and you're adding and adding. And a lot of recipe, a lot of recipe are like that. Huh? When you have, for example, I'm in the restaurant and I have coquille Saint-Jacques, the sea scallop on the menu. And
which is my favorite from your restaurant. It's
very
so good. Oh my goodness.
So, for example, it did happen. Sometimes because you make your mise en place. So every day I do an average of maybe 14 or 16 of them. And I know that by the end of the day will be gone. But sometimes we're very busy. Sometimes, you know, if it's somebody like you coming to the restaurant and say to a table of 6, listen, you must try the Saint-Jacques, it's the best. And 6 people take Saint-Jacques, I run out of Saint-Jacques. So if I have, for example, if I have my fish chowder on the stove and it's part of my menu, I will use a fish chowder to do the coquille Saint-Jacques because it's the same foundation, you know, more or less. So you just have to thicken it. You just cook your Saint-Jacques, your scallop on the side, and then you go. So in 2 minutes, when normally it will take 20 minutes to prepare your coquille Saint-Jacques, if I do it in 5 minutes, I can have it. And I can not go to the guest and say, sorry, I run out of Saint-Jacques. So you see how things work? That's how we do it.
I love that you shared that, Xavier, because I mean, speaking about repurposing and reinventing to make one dish feel new every single day, if you've already have some leftovers, I like the fact that you talked about, you know, having a sauce. Maybe you had one sauce the night before and maybe using that sauce as a base to build on it and create a whole different flavor and experience.
Exactly. Yesterday, this is what I did. I had some red snapper. The day before, I had some roti, you know, some seafood roti. So we had the roti. It was great. And I had a little bit left, but I had a lot of gravy left from the roti. Curry sauce. So I just take the leftover curry sauce. I just add a little bit of coconut cream in it. And I had a coconut cream sauce. And I did my snapper with that.
Oh my gosh, who else is hungry? Is anybody else hungry listening to all of this?
You did that at the wrong time, and it's 12:30.
Exactly. So let me just, before we continue, I want to acknowledge some of our guests here today. So I see Kathy is calling for a live cooking show. Yeah, definitely, Xavier. We're salivating here. I see Patsy saying that she's taking it all in. Uli said, great interview, mouth-watering. Hi, Kalisha, great to have you here. So wonderful. I think people are enjoying those tips, and you know, I'm salivating here. I'm really like wanting to head to my kitchen and start doing some cooking right away. I have some more questions for you. You know, nothing can go. We talked about things not going to waste. We talked about reinventing. What are your recommendations for cooking in bulk and freezing food?
Oh, you know, this is not a bad thing. I would say, again, you don't want to repeat like what I do. I have lunch and dinner and a similar thing. You don't have to do that. If you're ready and you say, okay, let's go in the kitchen and today I'm going to do 2 or 3 dishes, just do that. and then put it in the fridge. That's a perfect thing.
Amazing.
And I will say, people who are right now confined at home and have the chance to have a stock, they should do that. Because when we're going to start to get out again and start, we will be happy to have what we'll call again a mise en place in the freezer. You know? Same thing, you can freeze certain things. I mean, not everything is good in the freezer, but for example, I know pumpkin. If you put pumpkin, it's already very watery. You put it in the freezer, after is more water you add to the pumpkin, you know? But you can do a lasagna, you can do so many things and put it in a freezer, absolutely, no problem.
Absolutely. Can you share with us some of the things that are not so good for freezing? Because you shared like pumpkin. Can you give us like 2 more ingredients that maybe you don't recommend we freeze?
To be honest, right now, coming to my mind, like all the yellow squash, the zucchini, the pumpkin, all these kind of vegetable who are a little bit fragile, you know? They cannot go to the, but like mango, I love to do that with the mango because we get to a season where we have so much mango and then we have no mango for 3, 4 months, 5 months. So I take all the mango, I cut it in a nice cube. I put it on a flat tray with some paper. I freeze it. And when it's frozen, I just put it in a zip bag and then I do that. And the recipe was really nice. It's very simple. The same way I do the banana flambé, I do the mango flambé, you know, because after the mango is frozen, you cannot enjoy it just like that. So you can maybe do a fresh juice with it, or you can maybe do a compote or a jam with it to put, you know, on the bread and things like that. Or if not, do it like the way I do it, saute with some rum flambé, brown sugar, butter, and then a scoop of ice cream, and you have a perfect dessert done in 2 minutes.
Oh my goodness, so delicious. That sounds amazing. So I need to get a rewind on this. So you said you take the chopped mango and you put some alcohol, rum or whiskey or whatever it is that you might have available?
Yes, so what you do is you have like a big chunk of mango. So you let it defrost, put it in a strainer, let it defrost so the extra water will go. And then on the side, you get your fry pan hot. You throw a big chunk of butter in it. And after you, sorry, I pressed something there. Okay. You get your chunk of butter. When the pan is hot, you just put your mango in it, hot. You put brown sugar. You just saute once or twice. Then you put your rum, flambé, and that's it. It's done.
Amazing.
And then you put that in a bowl with a scoop of vanilla. So the hot mango with a cold vanilla on it is perfect.
Amazing.
If you want to jazz it up, you can maybe take some like almond, cut on dice to get a little bit of the crunch, you know. You can do the almond with icing sugar first, so you get a little bit of burn. And so you see the pleasure of food also is a combination of texture and taste. So you have the softness, you have the alcohol, you have the hot, you have the cold, you have the crunch, you have the bitterness, you have the burn. It's all that if it's well balanced, and that's what food is about, balance, you have an excellent dessert.
So quick question for our listeners who are in Europe or the United States or listening from any other part of the world. They don't have mangoes. They can use any other fruit or even canned fruit. Can that work?
Canned fruits, I will. The problem with that is you as soon as you put that in the heat, it's going to give a lot of water, and it can be a little bit of a problem. But you can, I would say, you can do it with apple. You can do the same recipe with apple, but then people are going to say, well, but that's more like an apple strudel. Well, you do an apple strudel instead of using, you know, let's adapt to your country. Here we have the mango and the rum. In Europe, you have your apple and your schnapps, or you know your Williamine or your alcohol, you know, your cognac. You can just do it like that, and it'll be fantastic. And I can imagine a nice apple saute like that with some sugar and butter and alcohol, and then you can also add Instead of maybe putting vanilla ice cream, you can put caramel ice cream or coffee ice cream, something
Right.
different, you know?
Yes, amazing, amazing, love it. And so my next question for you, because you said something that was important about the structure of food. For people who are looking to up their game and how they cook and how they present food and flavors, what are some of the things that we look for or professional chefs look for when it comes to balancing out texture and flavors and different cues on the food?
We're getting more technical there.
Yeah.
And we're pushing to other level. But
Yeah.
something I will say,
Mm-hmm.
I very often still, after I've been cooking for more than 35 years and serve so many meals and meet so many people and things like that, I'm still amazed of the lack of knowledge in average of people and food. For me, this knowledge was not really, of course, I learned through school, I went to study and all of that, but this knowledge was more like natural, coming from my parents, my grandparents,
Sure.
by my surrounding, by my our belief. It's all of that. We cannot escape from that. As a chef, the first passion, the first excitement, the first taste and experience is all related to my grandmother, my stepfather, who was a fantastic chef.
Yes.
He was a police officer, but he was a fantastic cook. You know, this man was like, if he had opened a restaurant, it would have been a full different story. But anyway, and so when we talk about the foundation and the imagination, and you know, where I'm lucky, me, and I'm talking for me, I can just think about one or two ingredients and then just come in my head, and they go straight to my mouth, and I can compare and say, hey, these two tastes will go together.
Yeah. Oh, so
Not
I feel like
everybody...
I'm a chef because
well,
that's exactly how I experience food.
But this is why I'm saying you need to differentiate the people who have this ability to do that and the people who do not have it. And and this is what I would say, I still sometimes understand when somebody come to me and they say, oh, your meal was fantastic, I really enjoyed it, but in the back of my mind, I was not happy of my work. I know I can do better.
Yes.
So, and I'm saying, oh, but is the people are being honest, or the people are just being too nice,
patronizing,
or the people really enjoy it, you know? And I have difficulty to believe that people enjoy it, because I say, well, they should know better. But then I'm comparing a professional man with somebody who are not. And we not have all this chance to grow up in a family where taste, where it's choice, where food was so important and good, you know?
Yes.
So I understand. This is what I say. For me, when I go on the internet and I look at the recipe, I say something is not right with this one. But a non-professional person cannot do that. Yeah. So I'm trying to answer your question and say, how can we grow with food? How we can, I would say is really put your mind to it, put your heart to it. Yeah. So the people who are not so accustomed to cook, or are uncomfortable, who are sometimes hesitating, like me, I hear all the time, oh, we're not going to invite Chef Xavier at home. I cannot invite a chef. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to your home for the food. If I want a good meal, I'll go to a top restaurant, or I'll cook it for myself. But what I want is a company, is sharing a good time with somebody, is a time and you know, so food is not the most important there for me, you know, but people don't analyze it like that. The same way sometimes I don't understand why people say, oh, this is so good, or because the lack of knowledge, you know.
Yes,
so,
it's true. It's like wine, right? If you don't know what to look for, you think all wine is good, right?
Exactly. So I don't know how to answer your question properly.
Sure. Well, one thing I would add to that, Xavier, is when you say that it's putting your mind to it, I really believe that, because when I first started my journey, when I went to university, I could not cook. Like I mean, every night I tried to cook something for myself, and I would go to bed almost hungry because because it would be too salty. It would just not work. And I just could not develop that acumen. I just couldn't connect with food. I never had to do it before. So suddenly I was in a situation where I had to cook for myself. And then when I got a job, my first job, I was then living off of boxed meals. And so anything that was in the frozen department, that was quick and easy to make, I would get it like ready-made. And then as I began to evolve in my consciousness, and then I started consulting for like hotels, like Cap Maison and all of that, being around chefs, it was as if like just being in the presence of chefs and seeing their relationship with food, I began to develop a new relationship with food. And then when we did the Junior Chef Show, and I was sitting on the judging panel with you and Chef, yeah, all the other chefs who were there, you know, I started to learn things as you were giving feedback to the contestants. And just like that, it started, my own cooking just naturally, it started to sink in. And I started to have a new, so I think maybe what I'm trying to say is looking at the relationship, your relationship with food.
Passion.
Yeah, your passion in developing and really seeing it as, because now I fully enjoy cooking. I love inviting people over to cook for them, because for me, it's like a way of saying I love you. Like food is like a way of saying I love you.
That's really cool. Yeah, what you say is beautiful. I mean, I have a lady, there is a French lady who lives on the island there. And sometimes she'll call, she say, Xavier, you think you can make it for dinner or lunch?
Yeah.
I said, don't worry, I will make it, because she's a fantastic cook. She's never been professional. She was a teacher, but her passion for cooking is so good. Everything she do, and that's how I grew up. So I go there because that remind me my childhood and everything. We all connected to food through the past and everything like that. And you know, this is what I love about, you know. But let me give you a story. It was quite a funny one. I had a knee injury when I was I was 22, 23. So I had to go across ligaments repair. So I went to the hospital. I passed 10 days and everything. And then the doctor said, you know, you're sportive. You like to be active and everything. You should go to a re-education hospital for 2 weeks or months, and then they'll do a better job there. So I said, no problem. So I arrived there, and it was a big hospital, and they had on the weekend, during the week, it was fine. It was a kind of hospital who was just for re-education. So the people who was there was like just recovering from injury, like knee injury, shoulder injury, and things like that. And every floor had like maybe 20 rooms, and on the weekend, it was nothing happening. But at the end of the corridor, it was a kitchen who was there for the people. So if you want, you can go and get some food and everything. So one morning, it was a Saturday morning, no staff, nearly no staff, half of the people gone for the weekend and everything. So it was like only the people who was living very far was staying there. So I'm in the kitchen and I say, let me do some pasta, you know, and everything. So I'm cooking some pasta, and to be honest, my knee was hurting me. I was not able to put pressure and stand up on the front of the stove. And then is this young lady there, Italian lady, long hair, everything, pretty lady, come and she say, speaking with a good French, and she say, what you doing there? So I say, well, I'm just preparing some pasta. She say, oh, and she pushed me and she said, go and sit down. I'm Italian. I know how to cook pasta. I'll cook it for you. So I was happy, you know. I was happy, and I say, oh, well, my knee is hurting me. I didn't say anything. I went to sit, and I said, you want to cook? Cook. And it was a little bit of, it was okay. It was nothing special. It was okay. And I was happy. She mean good. Yes. But then after that, we start to sit down and read the pasta together, and we start to talk. And she say, oh, what you doing in life, you know? I say, well, nothing much. She say, well, you don't have a profession? I say, well, you know, I'm a chef. If you see her face. She was so embarrassed. She said, oh, but why you didn't tell me that? I said, well, you was rude enough to push me on the side, and you know, I was in pain with my knee. I was happy. That was a surprise for us. I think she should never forget this experience.
Well, that can happen to us, right? When we don't take the time to know the people who we are with, and to find out. Amazing. So she just missed an amazing meal, right?
That's right. But again, you know, the whole experience and the whole thing was nice, you know.
Absolutely. And so my question for you, for those listening at home, who are thinking of stepping up their cooking game again, and even post all of this thing, because we're not thinking that we're going to be in this situation forever. What are some of the must-have kitchen utensils for creating meals like a chef?
Well, this is a very good question and a very good point you bring there. I like the house I'm renting. I equip it like if it was for me. So when people come there, they come and say, "Oh, what a great house and so nicely equipped kitchen," because you have mixer, you have blender, you have all the pot and pan, all the knife and everything.
Yeah.
So for people who love to cook, but it's true, your equipment, you need a minimum of equipment in your kitchen to be able to realize certain things. Now, I'll tell you something. Women who like to shop, I love to go in. When I go to the mall in Miami or wherever I go in from, I always find myself in a shop for kitchen utensil, and I get my pasta machine. I got this, I got that. So it's costly, but it's a beautiful thing. It's pretty for your kitchen. It's practical to cook, and then you get a fantastic meal. So again, very often the people who do that and spend this kind of money and equipment and everything, they're already the people who have the passion of cooking. But it's very important to have basic good equipment,
Yeah. So which ones would you recommend? Give us like 5 basic equipments that we need to have.
Oh, yeah.
Should we all be getting those pasta machines? Because I usually get sometimes I try to buy the fresh pasta from a local hotel who sells it, or I'll get some from the fridge section. But making the pasta, is that something we should all aspire to?
Well, there's a big difference, when you eat fresh pasta what just been made and the one, I mean, this is one thing we forget in Italy. The majority of the Italian people, they eat the pasta as a starter.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the main course, but they have the starter with the pasta. And then you live in Italy, you know how it was. You was there for a while. And then they have the scallops, or they have the steak, or they have the fish, but they have the pasta dish to start. And the way because the way they eat and they swallow and everything, they're not heavy. They're not as heavy as the way we do it here. Like when we do a macaroni and cheese, we overcook the pasta. We put the pasta again in the oven, in the sauce to cook and everything. And then more you're going to cook it, and more it's going to be difficult to digest.
Totally.
So this is where the secret of the Italian, when they do their pasta, they do it al dente. The pasta, they are fresh pasta, was done by the mama the night or the day before or the morning early. And this is, so yes, the pasta machine again, but I know many people who have the pasta machine and they use it 3 times a year.
Yes.
It's very demanding. It takes a lot of time and space. You need to have space when you do your pasta, because you need to dry your pasta and to do all of that.
Yeah.
Pasta machine is one thing, I mean, it's difficult. For me, the most important thing for me is to have a good cutting board and a good knife, because this is where the quality of the work is coming. After that, of course, you need to have your fry pan. You need to have the good variety of fry pan. There's a lot of gadgets. Some people are very good. They have the RoboCook who can do everything now.
Yes.
You just put everything and your soup is done.
Yeah.
Again, this is not something I am accustomed to use,
Yes.
Can you help me? Do you think it's something we need to have in the kitchen?
So I like that you talked about the knives, because I mean, knives are the foundation, and it really does help with the quality of presentation as well. Do you have any recommendation on how to choose a good knife?
It's funny. Knife is a huge evolution of knife, I would say, in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
When I started cooking, our knife was very expensive. We had Sabatier, we had few of them, the German knife, we had the French one and everything. It was very expensive, professional knife. And I would say 60 to 70% of them was really good, but you have to maintain them. You have to use them properly. You have to find the files again and sharp them all the time. It's like any tool, they need maintenance. Today we have new products on the market, like the ceramic one. We have the The Japanese also have a lot of good knife. The way they fillet the fish and everything. I do have 3 or 4 Japanese knife on my hand because I found the quality are excellent and they stay sharper and they're more easy to sharp. I like knife with a very thin blade also. Thicker is the blade, more difficult is to keep your knife sharp. When you have a very thin blade, you can get back the sharpness quite easy.
Okay, very
Give
good
you
tip.
name of knife and things like that, I cannot really help with that.
Sure. We don't really need the brands, but I think having that tip on a thin blade versus a thick blade is a really great one to look
And
out
it's
for.
important also you have your variety of knife where you see, as a chef, I may have like 6 or 7 different knives because you have the one to peel your garlic, you have the one to cut your tomato, you have the one to fillet your fish, you have the one to cut your meat or to debone your. So you need to have also the variety of the right knife. Every knife has a duty, you know, and that's one thing where people, and I sit there in the kitchen, they do everything with one, and that's not good, you know. cannot be professional at this level, you know. It's like asking a mechanic guy to only fix your car with a screwdriver and a hammer, you know. That's what makes the difference, you know.
That's an important point, and that's where you know the pros from the novice. But definitely important point that there is a tool for there's a purpose for every tool and a tool for every purpose.
That's right.
And that is even a life principle and a principle to building a successful business or brand.
You see very often people sometimes ask me, "Oh, you're French chef. You think you're doing the best food in the world. You have, you know, we all can cook and I said, you know, what is the beauty behind the French cooking? It's not just the cooking himself. It's the people who are attached to our industry. I'm talking the man who makes the cheese, the farmer, the one who grows the chicken, the one who's a fisherman. These people also have a culture and equipment and tools who are professional one. And this is what, when you start to do something from the beginning, when you arrive to the kitchen table of the chef, already these products has so much savoir-faire, knowledge, passion in it. You just have to finalize it and put it on the front of the guests. So it's not just about the chef. It's not only the way you cook. It's where you get your products, who did it, how is, and then when I'm talking the culture of making a good cognac, a good cheese, a good wine. It's not just the grape. It's not just the milk. Is a savoir-faire behind it.
Absolutely. I like that you brought this up because ingredients do matter, and the quality of the ingredient does impact the quality of the dish.
Yes, I had this. Is not in our world anymore. It's Tommy Yulin, who was a Swedish man who was living here in Saint Lucia. And he was a good friend, and he was the one bringing all the products from Martinique at the time of his plane. I'm talking about 25, 30 years ago. And he would always argue with me, "Oh, you're French, you always have to spoil the food. You're always putting too many things, too much cream, too much wine, too much butter. I like my food straight, simple, you know?" And I say, "Well, you're criticizing us, but this is why you fly every week in Martinique to get French products."
That's a good one. That's a good one. I love it.
I was happy. I was very gentle with him because I didn't want him to stop bringing fresh, because 25, 30 years ago in Saint Lucia, we didn't have all the ingredients we get today with the fresh cream and the cheese and some, the gelatin and some of these things that we need.
Yeah, and I know that for a lot of chefs, I'm not speaking of people from home and how you do this, because obviously we don't have the time to go to the supermarket every day or to go to the fisher's market to get fresh fish.
And you don't get all the time,
and you don't get it all the time. But I remember when I was putting together the San Pellegrino and Acquapana Junior Chef. When I spoke to the executives in Italy and I told them, they were asking, well, where are we going to get the salmon and stuff? I said, we're going to get it from a local supplier who's the distributor of salmon. They're like, you are not getting it fresh? And I said, no, we don't have fresh salmon. So we have to work with the frozen. It's like, well, I know there are chefs who will never touch frozen fish, right? But we do have to work with what we have, and of course we can always pay for the experience of having it differently whenever we get the chance to.
Absolutely, absolutely. But we not, we have our lobster and we have our fresh fish. We have quite a lot of things here.
Yeah, but I think, for each market, it's always different, and everyone, I mean, especially in the United States, you have imported mangoes or bananas. You don't really get it fresh off of a tree, right?
I think this was, to me, as much as it's nice, I think we overdo it, because sometimes you'll go to the supermarket in the States and I will see an apricot, I will see an apricot in February, or I will see a peach, and I say, this is not the season. I'll buy it. Well, it may come from Peru or Colombia or something like that, but the quality is not the same, And sometimes I stay away from certain products like that, because it's better to say no than to say yes, and you don't have the like I say, the ingredient, the quality of the ingredient, your foundation is there. If your foundation is not good, the chef can try to mask it or do whatever. He will still not give us good products.
Yeah, I like what you said about food in seasons. Respecting the seasonality of foods, because they do work with the body in cycles, and so that's an important piece as well.
Also, now we're going to the next step there. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, Chef Xavier, you shared so many amazing insights, and I see that some of our guests here are saying so many great contributing components, mouth-watering, etc. I know that you have to go, but I have one question that's weighing on my mind before we close off. You spoke about pans, and just this week, Uli and I watched this movie about the Teflon case. And so I want to ask you, when it comes to choosing the best pots and pans, what material do you recommend that we use? Because obviously Teflon, yes, they say it's safe. And I'm sure there are many people who probably still have Teflon pots from before 2013, when the chemicals were changed, who probably need to be thinking about changing that. What kind of pots do you recommend to really step up our culinary game?
I will say one word: French. French products.
French product. I agree.
I'm just joking, but first of it, it's not just France. You have to budget something. Price have something to do with that.
Yes.
If you go and start to buy some real French products in pans and pots and things like that, it's going to be expensive. You're talking about minimum for a small one, 60, 70 US, and it can go to $200 or $300 US. Mm-hmm. This is costly, and this is not everybody can do that. But again, if you want quality, if you think about your health, yes, you need to go and look in a higher quality. If you come from India or China, forget about it. Unfortunately, you don't get that everywhere, and it's very costly. Again, the way you treat it, like I remember the Teflon was one thing. They're saying so many things now. Also, is that commercial or that's real? You understand what I'm saying?
Well, there was a huge case on it, and many people who were tested, over 60,000 people tested, and the case was conclusive that it was the amount of that chemical used in the Teflon that were getting people sick. And of course, we know how as you said, the way you treat the product, if you're not treating your pots and pans well, you're even at more risk with certain products. So
I read about that, and we are facing this problem to be able to get the right pot and pan and things like that. Also the durability of it, because it's something is an investment you normally buy for 4, 5, 6 years. Is not something you just buy and use once or twice and forget about it.
Sure.
So and normally also I realize I may have 6 or 7 fry pan in my cupboard, but I always use the same. 1 or 2, because I know it don't stick. I know it's practical. I know the heat is well spread. This is also the heat. You always have to see of the heat. What we call the sandwich bottom, is like normally it's 3 layers of different steel. And this is important when you get the good foundation on your fry pan, on your pot, is spread the heat properly. Instead of just being straight, you go and spread it. And that's also the recipe to do something good. You can cook better if that's the situation, you know. So invest in good material. You have a lot of varieties these days, especially when you're overseas. We're not talking about Saint Lucia.
Sure.
Spend the money on it, and you should be okay.
So you're saying that the takeaway here is when it comes to pots and pans, if you can help it, if you can do it, buy good quality pots and pans, and usually the price is a reflection of the quality that you're purchasing.
That's right.
Awesome. Chef Xavier, you should go ahead.
Go ahead. No, that's it.
Great. You shared such amazing tips with us. There were points on this interview where I was salivating with some of those desserts and dishes that you shared. And I'm definitely going to be trying out. You know, I love apples. I love, you know, mangoes are not in season, but I love apples. My camera is timed for a certain time, so it's telling me it's going off. But really gonna try that recipe with the apples. I do this sometimes, but I put cinnamon in it. So I do it with the alcohol, whether it's cognac, whether it's whiskey, scotch, or rum. Yeah. And then I put the sugar, and I actually put lots of cinnamon. Sometimes instead of sugar, I use maple syrup, and it's amazing.
Cinnamon is something cinnamon and nutmegs, I love it, but it cannot be over flavoring. They are strong spice.
Yes.
But again, everybody is different, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And do you have any final pearls of wisdom for our people listening who are looking to eat well working from home?
Well, I just wish we didn't have to go through this. I'm happy to be online now. I wish we didn't have to do this program for the reason we all know. I wish all the best. Everybody stay home, be safe. And cooking, if you're depressed, put your mind in your cooking and then enjoy a good meal. That will bring up your spirit, you know.
Love it. Love it. Words from my French chef. Thank you so much, Xavier. It was so great to have you. Thank you. Bye-bye.